Peace, y'all. You're tuned into the Edible Activist Podcast. I am your host and favorite go-to edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. On this show, we serve up empowering narratives and fresh perspectives straight from the voices of emerging Black people and people of color in agriculture and business. And in these candid conversations, we might sprinkle in a few choice words. They're the ones stewarding the land, healing communities, and championing food justice and economic empowerment across the country. Their contributions and stories sprouted from the earth truly embody the spirit of activism in their own unique, edible ways. So let's dig in and get started. Peace and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I am your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones, coming at you with another phenomenal episode. I am super excited because I have another amazing guest in the studio who is going to become an edible alum, okay? So I have in studio with me Juliet Harris, affectionately known as JuJu. So we're going to call her JuJu throughout the show. And so I'm just excited to have this conversation with JuJu because I've been knowing JuJu for some years and we finally got her in the studio. JuJu is passionate about, the connection between health and food. She is a gardener. She's a self-taught cook. And she's in the community and she is working with community with a special focus on eating well on a budget. And she's an author. She's a traveler, which we're going to talk more about. But I'm just really excited to talk about all of JuJu's passions that kind of fuse together and melt into this beautiful pot of cooking and gardening and writing and doing what she's passionate about in terms of like teaching the community that you can eat healthy on a budget. And want to talk more about your book that you created and authored, not too long ago. So welcome to the show, JuJu.
Thank you for having me. It's so cool to be here.
Yay! So I would be remiss to not talk about, go back a few years ago. I don't remember exactly how we met, but that doesn't matter because I met you, and that's just the point, right? And so this is pre-pandemic, and I was doing some rooftop events at Uptop Acres, who I have to shout out in DC. And somehow JuJu and I connected and we were doing some dinners and some different tastings and food talks. And actually JuJu shared her story on the rooftop. I remember that. Now it's coming back to me. But the thing that stuck out the most was JuJu's food. The woman can cook her ass off.
That's funny.
And I was like, whoa. And when I could find someone who can really cook, really just blend things very well and just does a damn good job at it, that person is my friend forever. Ask a few other people.
Gotta come over and let me feed you then.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's not the first time you said that. See, JuJu is awesome. JuJu rocks. JuJu rocks. And so I say that to say that I have been so blessed to meet so many people in the food space, and JuJu is one of them. And just to, catch up with you, JuJu, now 2023, and just still see your passion for, teaching people and educating the community on not just how to cook a good meal, but the reality that food is expensive and that you can still eat well and still make something of sustenance. I think I said that word right. But also blend something together that's beautiful. And I think you are the master of that.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I know that there's a whole background story. Your dad dealt with some health issues, which was kind of like a catalyst into, learning more about the food and health connection and just diving deeper into this work. You're very being in the space and being a beneficiary of SNAP benefits, you have empathy, to, parents and moms who you've been there, who are feeding, needing to feed their kids care for themselves and feed their families.
Exactly.
So I just love that you come at this from all angles, and I'm just so excited to dive into this what is going to be a wonderful conversation with you.
Awesome.
So, and she looks lovely, by the way. I wish y'all could see her. So shall we get started? One of the things I want to kick off with, JuJu, is that you witnessed your father successfully manage multiple health conditions through diet and exercise, and just want to dive deeper into like how that inspired your passion for the connection between health and food.
Yeah, when must have been still in high school or very early adulthood. My dad got diagnosed with high blood pressure, and he was kind of pre-diabetic and high cholesterol. He was overweight and he smoked. And he joined a program at his job called Mr. Fit. And so then with that program, he started walking. He started talking about the use of herbs for medicine. He started talking about food as medicine. And up until that point, I had never heard of food as medicine. But the more my dad got involved in it, and, I love my dad. I wanted my dad to be healthy. So I said, well, what can I do to help my father get healthier? So I'd say, come on, Daddy, it's time for our walk. We'd go walking around the track at the school. I started reading cookbooks to find different ways to make different meals that they were still delicious because my dad loved to eat. But that man could eat. But also, things that were going to help him, that are going to help his health, because I felt like my parents were already really old when they had us. They were in their late 30s. So by this time, my dad was in his mid 50s, probably around the same age I am now. And I was just, I just wanted my dad to be okay. My mother also had similar health issues, but she never worked on them. She never took it to heart that she had these health issues that were really going to impact her in the long run. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel you. You want your parents to be healthy. They're the ones caring for you. So let's take care of dad and let's take care of mom too. So no, thank you for sharing that. And I think I can't just about every interview that I've done, JuJu, in diving into the origins or diving into like what is your why, for like really diving into this space. That's been the majority of these stories, starting with either like a health issue that they had personally, or starting with their parents, or something that's just like ran in like their bloodline, from high blood pressure to cholesterol. It's like really, honestly, like the story of a Black family when it comes to health.
Yeah, yeah. And I also realized like it didn't have to be my story. I was at the pharmacy one day picking up something for my mom, and there was a woman in front of me who was picking up 7 or 8 medications. And I was like, what is going on in her life that she has to take so much medicine? And what can I do now to avoid having to do that? And I've always been kind of active. I love walking, hiking. Definitely not an athlete. Oh God, I'm just like,
You don't got to convince me. I'm not
the gumpiest. But I love being active gardening, and also at one point, I remember hearing that the 3 main killers of Black women were stress. I think it was stress, high blood pressure, and obesity. And I was like, okay, I don't have high blood pressure. I wasn't obese at the time, but I was really incredibly stressed. And I said, how can I get myself out of this, because this is what's ultimately going to kill me, is stress. So just finding different ways to manage myself in addition to the food.
That's first of all, that's a whole nother podcast by itself. Black women and stress.
Yep. Yeah.
My jaw's clenching. It's just like a trigger. It is. I was just having a conversation with my god sister earlier about it, and just the weight that we bear on our shoulders. But
yeah.
I digress, but also
don't
send
have
my
to
love.
be superwomen.
We do not,
and
I don't want to be.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't want to be. Thank you, JuJu. I want to dive right in a whole nother topic. JuJu, you are a self-taught cook and organic gardener. And so we want to know, how has this journey shaped your approach to preparing delicious and healthy food? And before you answer that, I have been to JuJu's house before. I've had the pleasure of being in JuJu's home, and it is like this beautiful oasis, like of everything.
Thank you.
Animals, love, people, gardens, like all the things. And so I don't know how much of a vivid picture that painted, but I just needed to say that before JuJu jumps into this, just in case she tries to like minimize anything, y'all.
I mean, the house thing is really important to me because, back when I was an Oprah groupie, I heard it was Maria Shriver was on there, and Oprah said to her, your parents really created this safe space for you. And she said, yes, my parents really said, the world will beat you down. The world is hard. So your house needs to be a place where you can come to as a sanctuary where you can retreat to. So that's always been very, very important to me to create that experience, that space and feeling for my friends and my family.
It shows. I walked in, I was like, wow,
So great.
what is this?
Love that. That makes me really, really happy.
It's so fun because
I
you're
really
a
love
fun
that.
person.
Yeah. Fun. But getting to your question, so I grew up in California in Oakland, and part of my sort of experience was going to the farmers markets in Berkeley and Oakland on the weekends and seeing, all these beautiful fresh foods. And I didn't really understand, I guess at the time I didn't really think where they were coming from because, California is an ag state.
Right.
But at that time, what were they calling it? I hate this word, the farm to table movement.
I know.
Because food has always gone from the farm to the
table.
That makes me insane.
A t-shirt that says that.
Yeah, makes me bonkers. But that was like the big thing because that's when Alice Waters at Chez Panisse was really talking about California cuisine and eating healthy and fresh food and all this stuff. So I just started kind of looking around at the food scene. Also, that was around the time when like the first organic markets, grocery stores were coming into Berkeley. And I remember going to the grocery store and looking at the food, and it didn't look like the food like it's safe. We have Safeway out there. It was puckered. It was not bruised, but it wasn't a uniform size because it wasn't manipulated. It was fresh. It was organic food, like you pull it off a tree. So that was another thing that influenced me. And then my first husband's grandma was Italian American. And one day he said, no one can ever cook as well as my Nonna. And so I took it on as this sort of personal challenge, this unspoken challenge that I was going to beat his grandmother cooking. Ooh. So I started, teaching myself little things and learning more about using fresh herbs and growing fresh herbs. My mom was a gardener when I was growing up, but she was what I call a black flag gardener. If any of you know Black Flag.
No, please.
It's a brand of pesticide and herbicides.
Oh, okay.
And so it had like that spray thing like they have in the Addams Family when Morticia's spraying it on her roses. And that's one of my first memories is sitting in the sandbox outside, and my mom was like 4 feet away from me spraying her plants with the black flag with a cigarette clenched in her teeth. And it's just like, ugh. So I just knew there's got to be a different way to do stuff. So just looking to see what was possible. Also, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a hippie. I am a hippie. But like looking like, what do the hippies do? They live naturally. And what does natural mean? Yeah. So that's one of the things I started really looking at. And the food piece, like, it's not just food. It's like, it has to be delicious. It has to, and I mean, really thinking about the way I grew up. One of the things I appreciate so much is that my family had dinner together every night. Like every night at 5 o'clock, my mom would start making Bisquick biscuits. And me and my sister, we called it dancing to the egg beater. We'd dance. And then my dad got home at 5:30 and we'd sit down for dinner. And in hindsight, my mother's food wasn't really good. It was filling. Okay. But, and it's what she knew. Because my mother also she didn't really get joy from cooking. For her, it was a task. But it was important to her to do it for her family. But for me, it's the way that I express love. Yeah.
Say that again.
Cooking is the way I express love.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so I have a selfish question, right? Like, I I just admire like self-taught cooks. Like I come from a line of amazing cooks. My family is from the South. They're from Mississippi. Like there are, I mean, goodness, I'm just trying to like sit down and have them write down their recipes, Juju. And it's
Okay.
the hardest thing for them because like I don't come from a family that measures things out, like just how great of cooks they are.
Yeah.
There's just like just a little
A
bit of
pinch of
flour,
this.
a pinch of this, a pinch of that. I'm like, just try to do because I'm really trying to I really want to document, if not for nothing. I want pen to paper. That's what I want. And then I want to, try to pick up on some things. But like I always told myself, like, I actually could learn how to like love how to cook, love to cook. It's just getting in the rhythm of doing it.
Okay.
Because part of me is lazy and don't want to do the shit sometimes. It's just like, I got to get the cups, the measuring cups, like all that. And I'm just like, it's just too much. It's too much. But I told myself, I said, I want to just like hone in on like one thing first. Like, can I just perfect like one thing? And one thing that I thought I was going to perfect last summer, didn't even try. Girlfriend.
What?
Didn't even try. I just wanted to learn how to make really great salad dressings.
Okay.
Like just try like different, because I love salads. And I feel like salad dressings are so like versatile. Like you can like put them on just about anything,
Marinate food in it.
Yes, rice, potatoes, whatever. And I feel like if I can like really hone in and like perfect like salad dressings, like I want to do that. So selfishly, and you don't have to answer this question about salad dressings, but I'm curious, like,
That's funny.
like when you to teach yourself how to cook, like what advice would you give me or just anyone who just like wants to learn? And like, yeah, there are, you have an amazing book that you wrote. So like, let's push that out there. But like just getting started, because then there's part of me that's like, this gonna taste like some crap. I'm just afraid to do it. And I'm like, Grubhub.
So this is one of the things. So currently I'm working as a SNAP education manager at the YMCA and teaching classes on cooking and managing the other teachers. And one of the things I worked on recently for one of our programs, and that I'm developing further, is a meal planning curriculum. And so people told us, like, I don't cook for myself because I don't even know where to get started. So like really looking at like, what is it that stumps people? Is it like, I can't figure out the recipes? I can't really figure out how much to cook for myself. I don't know how to manage my time so I can get a meal done. I'm too busy to cook. One woman told us, like, I don't cook for myself because I hate cleaning up the kitchen.
I mean, listen, I hear her on that.
Yeah. So I guess that's one of the first things is like identifying like where the feeling is, where the blockage is. Yeah. And then also, taking shortcuts if you feel like you need to take a shortcut. If you don't want to get in there like wash and chop, lettuce or whatever, you can buy the pre-bagged stuff, give it a good rinse anyway and spin it dry. There's different what do we call them? There's sort of like there are recipes, but there's a different word for it. For dressings, like this much oil, like this kind of oil, plus this kind of citric, plus these herbs equals salad dressing. So look for the easiest way to get in there. And like you said, like perfect one thing, and that gives you confidence to keep trying different stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, I realized long ago, which is how I even got into this work, because I used to think if you can read, you can cook. It's just like, it's so simple. Pick it up, the book, and just do exactly what it says. But I realized that, a lot of people just aren't confident about it. And one of the things one of my friends taught me, she says, look, I know the food I eat isn't good for me, but if I goof up, then I wasted food and I wasted money. So I just cook the same stuff over and over, even though it's bad for me. So that's how I started doing the cook days, was to show people, here's a very simple recipe that's cost efficient, that's delicious.
That's a reality
you need
too.
to come over and cook with me, girl.
I'm there. Please invite me. I'll come over anytime. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And I think like feel the feeling and like what is your blockage? I think for me it's like not knowing like what pairs well together. And it's like I'm like the person who said, like you create something, it's not great, and then you waste all this money, like, so anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm like, people like, I can make a mean macaroni and cheese and I can do fried chicken. I want a baby to come in the room and be like, I know how to make salad dressing.
Okay. I mean, one of the shortcuts, like you said, you don't know what goes together. The simple thing is whatever is ripe at the same time goes together. So like right now it's greens and like pears and apple. That's a salad right there.
Okay.
In the summertime it's corns and beans and tomatoes. That goes together. So that's the easier, faster way to think about it. Like, oh, and I'm talking about seasonally. I'm not talking
Right,
necessarily
seasonally. Exactly.
about what you go into the market and it's like, okay, it's summertime, but there's
Right.
strawberries in the store, because they've been imported. They're not local.
Exactly.
But I mean, they still taste. No, they don't. They don't taste good.
I probably don't.
They're
Thank
red.
you for reminding me of that, though.
They're
like
red on the outside. And
yeah,
white on the
eating
inside.
what's in season, pairing what's in season, and that's always going to be the best. Like what's in season. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. All right, y'all. Sorry, y'all. I just had to ask that for me. I know some of y'all were wondering as well. So, JuJu, let me talk about culinary education, which is definitely a central theme in your work.
Yep.
And you've emphasized its role in expanding food access and community health. How did you come to recognize the importance of culinary education, and what experiences or observations led you to this belief?
Okay, so for 4 years, I worked for the Arcadia Center for Sustainable Food and Agriculture on the mobile farmers market. And my first week out, people would come up to the market and kind of look at stuff and like, and walk away. Because some of them didn't recognize what the food was because they were so used to not eating fresh food. Just quickly, the mobile market served primarily Ward 7 and 8, where there aren't, easy access to good food, healthy food in grocery stores. So we were sourcing locally from about 150 miles out. And so I said, realize people aren't going to purchase this food if they don't know what it tastes like. If someone says, oh yeah, kohlrabi is amazing, and you're just like, okay, well, what does it taste like? Because I only have $5. I'm not going to spend it on something I don't know. So I said, you have got you have got to pair culinary education with food access, because like the doctors will say, or the USDA will say, oh, you need to eat healthy food. Okay, first of all, yeah, get it into the neighborhood, get it to people, but then teach people how to use it, because then they will be more likely to introduce those foods to their family. So I started doing these cooking demonstrations out at the bus, like the bus side, because we had a big bus for our mobile market on the street, and just showing people very simple things, different little twists that they could do. So, for example, we had Swiss chard, and a lot of our customers didn't know Swiss chard, but they knew collards. And so they would say to me, well, what do you put in there, fatback or something? And I'd say, no, you just put some ginger and garlic and a little bit of soy sauce, which are flavors that Black folks love anyway. And stir fry it, and it's done in less than 5 minutes. So by giving out these samples, showing people how easy it was to cook these meals, then people were more willing to try them. And then I would just give food away and say, here, take this. I'm going to tell you how to cook it. Here's a recipe. Come back next week and tell me how it went.
Yeah.
And so that's one way that was introducing food to people. And then one of the things I noticed too is across the board, demographically, people just are not confident cooks. I mean, we had the college students around Howard, to people who were wealthier, to people who just had immigrated here, but people just were not comfortable cooks, confident cooks, I should say.
Two things come up for me. I myself forget or underestimate like how powerful a piece of ginger sauteed in your food like just really brings out a meal. Like,
yeah, it's delicious.
I mean, in your spinach, just anything I can saute. Like, I'm like, I forget, and I'm like, damn, why did I forget this? Like, it's so good. Number two, you made a very important, statement in that, folks always talk about food access, and like needing to pair culinary education with food access. It does lead, it brings up the last conversation that I had with LaMonica Jones, which was a great conversation because she really just opened my eyes up to looking at, I mean, we always talk about like the holistic food system, but I mean, she's talking about every spoke in the wheel.
She threw it down.
She
that was
broke
a great interview. Yeah,
down.
it was awesome.
Yeah,
broke it down. I threw it down.
Like thinking about, yes, there's food access, and she's like, you need someone to like teach them like what to do with it. But then also like, do people have like a safe space or a space at all to like cook the food? So just all those things come up for me. And so I'm just glad, because it can turn into a thing of like, you just need access, you just need to get healthy food. And then what?
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah. Right. Right. Or people have limited space. I mean, I know people who live in apartments, very tiny little kitchens. They can't store a whole lot of stuff.
Exactly.
Or like the food access part, they might be in a place where things aren't functioning well because, some folks aren't putting money into making places safe for people to live.
Right.
So there's a lot of things. But I mean, my piece is culinary education, because the food system is so big. It's the part where I feel like my niche is.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. One of the things that I did not mention in your introduction, Juju, is that you're also a doula. I don't know if you still do doula work currently, but a doula is a doula. And so I know just the importance of, educating community, but also with an emphasis on moms and feeding their kids and making sure that they have the tools and resources and the confidence to be able to feed their families, which is so important to you, and someone who's been in a position where you needed to be the recipient or beneficiary of benefits.
Yeah.
I
I had
just
WIC
want to,
with both of my kids.
yeah. And I just want to, just talk there for a minute, and also just knowing, postpartum nutrition are areas that you specifically address in your community cooking classes. What advice do you have, or would you have for new mothers when it comes to maintaining a healthy diet during a crucial period in their lives, and not just once, but multiple times potentially? So
Yeah. I think one of the first things is, have a really sound support system. I was really fortunate that I met with a bunch of awesome women in the Mocha Moms group, which is a national program for stay-home mothers of color. So they were my girls. They had my back. So that was crucial, having the support. Of course, my husband was there, and my mother let us live with her, which is how she helped us, because we didn't agree on child rearing. But one of the things is like ahead of time, prepare and freeze meals, even if they're just in small portions, because if you're nursing, or not even if you're not nursing, you're going to need to eat often throughout the day to keep your energy up. Set up a nursing station for yourself that has snacks and water readily available. If you've got kids, little kids, because some people have, what do they call them, a lap baby and a knee baby. The little ones are going to need to eat. So be sure and think about the snacks for them, because that's one less thing that you have to think about. Put those in a place where it's accessible to them, but they won't get hurt. If you have friends, or you are in a mom's group, set up a meal train. They have all kinds of apps for it, but ask your friends, like, hey, I'm going to need some meals. Would you mind bringing me a meal? I mean, like, if you got a best girlfriend or whatever, they can set it up for you, but for at least 2 or 3 weeks, because especially around here, a lot of people are not natives to DC. They don't have their families locally.
Right.
Sometimes the mom or the mother-in-law will breeze through, whatever. But then, the exhaustion sets in around 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, for me, I had really bad postpartum depression, which is one reason I really focus on postpartum nutrition. And I mean, as much as I know about food, I wasn't eating enough for myself. And I was nursing, I don't like to say on demand, I was nursing on request. But I realized, I'm not even eating enough for a non-nursing woman. And your needs for nutrition go up postpartum, especially if you're nursing. They're even greater than when you're growing the baby. Then you're feeding the baby from your body. And then maybe, taking care of littles and managing your house, going back to work, whatever the case may be. So try to set up that support system and a meal plan, some sort of eating plan. Get your friends, like, for baby showers. Yeah, onesies are cute, but the kids outgrow those things. Get your friends to, like, give you $20, meal, what do they call those things? Like meal tickets for restaurants. What are those things called? Gift certificates.
Gift certificates.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. So you can order that and, rock on Uber Eats for a minute. Yeah. But make it easier for yourself because it is really a wearing time. It's wonderful, but it's also, it just kicks your butt, man.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Do you still do doula work? Or
I
are
haven't
you
done it recently.
okay?
I've done postpartum doula work this year. There's a family that I nannied for during COVID,
Okay.
and they moved to California. So they just had a baby last December. So I went out to California for a few weeks and stayed with them and helped out, because she was just so tired. And so I said, I'm here. I can get up with the baby. I can rock him. You nurse him. I'll pick him up. I'll walk him. So yeah, I love that. I'm Nana to the world. It's not just the mom. It's just like, I Nana the whole family.
Oh my god. Well, Juliet Harris, affectionately known as JuJu Nana Rocks. Okay, let's get it right. JuJu, let's talk about your cookbook. Which is on its third edition. Is that correct?
Right. I am working on the third edition, and I'm including the meal planning piece because I, realize that's such a crucial part of what is holding people up. So the goal is to have that next edition out by mid-January. The second edition's still available, but just wait for the third edition because it'll just be fuller because it has meal planning, it has ways to set up a pantry, it's got a whole bunch. I have the second edition here to show you.
I'm glad you did because I forgot to bring mine. Good. Awesome. Yes.
So it's just going to develop, and then one of the things my son suggested is that since the cookbook doesn't have pictures, and I made it that way intentionally because it's less expensive to produce if there's no pictures. And one of my hopes is that it gets picked up by a nonprofit or a larger entity.
Let's put it out there.
Putting it out there.
Y'all.
So that it gets picked up and distributed as part of that culinary education paired with the food access in our region or anywhere in the country. But my son had a good idea about having a QR code that people could scan, which will take them to pictures of the recipe when it's done.
Neat idea.
That's a good idea. Yeah. So I'm working on my food photography skills. And when I did the original cookbook for, it's based off the Arcadia cookbook that I did, which paired WIC staples with fresh produce. And so when I left Arcadia, I took my book and expanded it into this current form, sort of also combined with my workshop, Eating Well on a Budget in DC, that I do at Rooting DC. In that cookbook, that does have pictures, and it's out of print. It does have pictures of the vegetables because I wanted people to see what the vegetables look like. So when they go to the farmer's market, they really know what they're looking for, or that there's other varieties. Lettuce isn't just, iceberg lettuce.
Y'all, there's more than just iceberg lettuce, y'all. No judgment. Please don't put. Well, it depends, but I pass on iceberg. Garlicky kale salad, black bean salad, sesame green beans, beet greens with white beans and bacon. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I love unstuffed Swiss chard or cabbage. And the thing that I love about, which I have a copy of this, the thing that I also like about the book is that even the titles seem just so simple, which gives me confidence to okay, I know those words.
Yeah.
I know what those things are, and so I appreciate that. Chicken or vegetable curry. I love a curry, y'all. I love a good curry.
And I did the cookbook, very consciously like this because I wanted it to be interesting for people who knew how to cook or like, oh, look, new recipes, but also simple enough that people who weren't confident cooks could say, oh, I could do this. And it's not going to take a lot of time and it's not going to cost a lot of money. Yeah.
See, this is good. This is going to be my go-to. Spicy cilantro chutney. See, if I can get some sauces and some salad dressings now, JuJu, you about to turn me into, listen, I'll be walking in like, this is what I can do. This is awesome. I do want to chat about, I know that you did a Taste of African Heritage cooking class.
Yes.
Let's talk on it. That sounds yummy.
Oh, that's fantastic. So the Taste of African Heritage is a curriculum that was developed by Old Ways, which is an organization that thinks and believes that traditional diets are healthier. So the African Heritage Diet Pyramid has the base of it's community, an active lifestyle, being out in nature, trying to eat the best possible thing you can. And then as you go up the pyramid, the bases are greens, grains, fruits and vegetables, and tubers and mashes with sugar, a little, not even really in there. Sugar is in there in the form of fresh fruit. It's not
okay.
it's not like cookies, and then fish and meat on a much lesser scale. And the Old Ways curriculum, this particular one is a plant-based 6-week course. I taught at the Anthony Bowen Kitchen here in Northwest, as well as I taught a virtual class from my own kitchen. And so it was just one of the best things I've ever done. I had such a good time with it. My students would come to class. We'd have a little conversation about the focus for the week, because each week there's a different focus. So like for greens, for example, we talked about all the different kinds of greens we ate. And a lot of people said the only way I've ever had greens was, like with fat back or smoked turkey in it or something. So one of the recipes we did was the Old Ways collards, and then we did coconut collards, and we did like a mixture of dandelion greens, and people just lost their minds over sweet potato leaves, which I had never seen before I came out here and saw them at a farmer's market. And so we got those and stir fried them with garlic and ginger, and we talk about the different the health impacts of them, because Old Ways also really focuses on the benefits of these diets. They have please check out their website, because they have pages and pages of these scientific studies about the benefits of their diets.
Yeah.
And we talk a little bit about the different regions of the African diaspora where the food has been spread about. And then we would cook together and usually do, 3 or 4 different dishes. Took maybe about 45 minutes to cook together, and then we'd sit down and have a meal and talk. And for me, that was a part. I love the teaching part, but like having people to share the meal with, because, the community is so important, and people have been really disconnected from, this is still lingering effects of COVID. And then in my virtual class, some people would cook along with me, because I'd send the recipe ahead of time to give them time to get their groceries. And that was super cool, because I had people doing it with their children, and the kids were just as excited as the adults. And then afterwards, people were sending me pictures of what they ate, and like, we ate this, and I loved it so much, we cooked it again, or you really helped me with my meal prepping. And I'd take Kristen Reddick, who was in Chris, yes. He's awesome. He's so cool.
That's my brother.
He's awesome. So he's like, my coworkers are like, dude, where'd you get that? Like, I made this in class, So it was really fantastic. And one of the cool things was, like, I want to do this for myself. So I really took on that way of eating. I ate primarily a plant-based diet while I was cooking, especially the first session, plant-based, and I started feeling really good. I had much more energy. I'm not like a big sweets eater, but I just stopped like craving like a little bit of kick of sugar or something in the afternoons. And then I went to Belgium and Italy for a month in May and ate primarily cheese, bread, and wurst. And beer, delicious beer. But I started feeling very sluggish. I could really feel my metabolism slowing down. And then when I came back and picked up the African Heritage Diet again, I started feeling fantastic. Really great. So that class will be offered again. And then I can give you the link on the website.
Please do.
Yeah,
We got to put that on the job
description. Registration's open already.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we got to put that on under the podcast description. So you guys look out for that when the episode drops. Awesome. Speaking of more like cooking classes and food demos, I know that you partnered with another edible activist alum, Brandon of the People's DMV.
He's great. That guy. So proud of him.
I remember seeing a video of you, and I was like, that's JuJu. you. I think I even commented on YouTube. I was so excited to
Yeah,
see
that was
you all
great.
partner and everything. What was it? Was it a pie? Was it a crumble? Was it a peach,
Oh, yeah, I did the
blackberry,
fruit crumble
something?
when I was in
Yes.
Italy.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Oh
It's
my
perfect.
goodness. Yay. That's super
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, he's fantastic. We met through a mutual friend, but oh, actually, that's a person to interview. But Bahia Parks, who is a flower farmer, and Brandon was out there talking to another farmer where she farms about, being able to source from her, and talking to Bahia about this idea. And Bahia said, well, that's really cool, but what are you doing for culinary education? Because that's got to be part of what you're doing. Just like I said, you can do the food access, but people want to know what they're cooking or how to cook it.
Right.
So yeah, Brandon and I got on the phone and had a really great conversation. He came over my house last year in February, and we filmed the collaboration of me doing my signature dish is the kale salad, and him talking about all the things he was going to offer. And then that first year of his subscription, everyone got a copy of the cookbook with their subscription.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, how beautiful.
yeah,
But
it
how
was
beautiful.
great.
And I've met Bahia.
Oh, have you?
Yes,
Oh, she's
more
fantastic.
recently,
Ah,
there was a black farm tour, agrarian farm tour that was
yeah, yeah, I
phenomenal.
missed that.
Oh my gosh. And she was one of the farms, her along with Dr. Min
Yeah.
that share that space up there. And she sweet spirit. I can't wait. I know that she does a whole sabbatical and I'm just so
That
happy
girl
for
is
her.
gone.
Yes. Out of here. She's just like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yes.
done.
Yeah.
See y'all next season. And I love it and I respect it. And I want everybody in this space to get some rest. But Juju, you're going on world tours and everything here. Like, we're gonna, conclude in just a few moments, but like what's up next? Like I wanna get in the kitchen with you. Hell, you can come over my place and mess up my kitchen. But like, as I said, like when I was doing your intro, like you're a traveler and you got some travels coming up.
I do.
Some other things that, in this space of like food, there are other things that you're passionate about. And I know traveling and seeing the world is one of those.
Yeah.
So if you
Sure.
don't mind sharing a bit about what
Yeah.
your next, where the roads lead
Oh,
to
yes.
next.
I am counting down the weeks ready to launch. So yeah, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to travel. I mean, I was thinking about this recently. All my games were about going somewhere. So like, oh, we're in a wagon train and we're going across the United States, or we just built this boat out of this log and we're going to travel across the ocean. Or like once I saw Star Trek was about like beaming from one place to another. And when I was younger, I just never took the opportunity to go around the world. I just, kind of got into my life, got married, and just started doing my thing. But with my this current husband, before we got married, I told him, look, I never did that running around when I was younger, and I have to do that at some point in my life. I have got to. It's just I can't let that go. And so when that time comes, it won't mean that I don't love you. It doesn't mean I need a divorce. It just means it's time to go. So COVID happened. My mom's health declined, so that put the brakes on it for a minute. But the last 3 years, I've gone to Italy, and I've done work away and trusted house sitting, and had a fantastic time. And now I'm just ready to go for a longer time. I just feel like while this body is still strong,
And
most of my
able
mind is
and
here,
yeah.
I see and hear. I just want to get out and see the world. I mean, right now I really feel like the world is on fire.
It
Just like it's
is.
crazy. But
It
before the world
is.
burns, I want to see it. And there are good
Yeah.
people out there. And
There
I've
are.
met enough people to know that no matter where I go, people are basically the same. They just have maybe little different ways of doing stuff. So I just decided to do my retirement early.
Love it.
First when I first started this job, I was like, I could see being here for 7 years, and I was like, I could see being here for 3 to 5 years, and now like, you know what? I have to go to Italy next year. Yeah. So just, I got a, wild hair. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to take off and start going. So starting next month, I'll be in London for a month doing a house sit. Then I will be doing a work away as a nanny for 3 weeks, the other side of London. Then I am going to Scotland for 3 weeks. Then Oh, then I'm going to Budapest because I found out Budapest is the spa capital of Europe. So you can get, fairly inexpensive flights from England to Budapest. So
Wow.
one of my girlfriends is going to meet me and we're going to do like 4 or 5 days of spying in Budapest. Yeah, pretty cool.
Y'all are living. Can I be like y'all when I grow up?
Yeah. And then I'm going to Switzerland for a month where I'll be doing some gardening for a couple who has a yoga retreat center. And then I'm going to Italy to see my friends that I met 3 years ago when I woofed at the goat farm. So I'm going to go help them on their farm for a couple weeks. Then we're going to go to the beach for a week. Then I'm going to find another workaway. I just saw another workaway doing like sustainable gardening, helping these people get a farm started. And I love Italy. I've wanted to go there since I was a kid. So now that's my second home. Then after that, I will go to Albania for 2 months to work at a yoga retreat center. And then I'll go to Turkey for a month. Then I will go back to Italy for a month. Then I'll go to Greece for a month. And then I'll go to Portugal for a month. And then I will possibly and most likely probably go to Mozambique and see what comes after.
Where can I meet you? What stop did I just say ding? Open the door and here's Melly Mel with her bags.
Oh.
Switzerland sounds great.
It's awesome. I mean, with Workaway, you do 4 to 5 hours of work in exchange for room and board. It's unpaid, but what costs the most money when you're traveling is a place to live and the food you eat.
That is so true.
And also, like, I'm interested in how people live. I don't want to just be someplace and kind of skim the surface as a tourist.
Yeah.
I want to be there and find out how people live and pick up the language and the rhythms. And this time it was really important to me that places where had yoga or meditation, that was part of either where the place was or it was part of the family that I stay with. Because that's just part of me wanting to just age well. I'm croning. And I saw a thing that said, yeah, everyone has to age, but you don't have to rot. So I want to be strong right up to the moment that I decide it's time for me to drop dead.
JuJu, when I tell y'all I love JuJu, I love JuJu. I love you, JuJu. I love you. And you know what? You said that this world is on fire and before it burns down, you want to see it. And there are good people in this world. And there's some people who are, but you know what? The love that you're going to carry to each of these places, they need that.
Oh,
Everybody needs a little bit. It's love. Listen. My therapist says it's love and fear. That's it. That's it. That's all it is. I believe that's all it is. Those are the two energies, love and fear. Dr. Min says it all the time. That's my acupuncture is love and fear. Needs more. Like you're gonna meet these people. Some that might be touch of you, just a touch of love. You're gonna be sharing all that during your travels. That sounds so amazing. I'm so proud of you.
I'm so excited. And
Yay!
Yeah.
And then you're gonna come back and you're gonna tell us about about your travels, all the culinary excursions, everything.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things, part of one of the places I want to go to is a restaurant where I ate at a lot last year when I was in Italy. I helped them write their workaway profile. So I emailed them and said, hey, can I come work at the restaurant for a week or two? Because I'll learn real Italian cooking from a nonna and be immersed in Italian language.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, girl. Y'all email me. I'll tell you how it's done. It's fabulous.
This is all up in my heart. I love it. I love it.
But then also I have been thinking about the post-trip piece. I do know traveling is what I'm going to do the rest of my life, but my passion is food access and culinary education. So I do want to come back and do some work in this field and then also do postpartum dueling. So that might just be what I do, kind of ping pong, come back for 6 months, do that and then split.
Yeah. and then split.
Marilyn is not going to hold these bones. No.
This has been so inspiring. And I'm like, yo, Melissa, what do you, girlfriend? What? Y'all, this is JuJu. I told you this is going to be a phenomenal episode. Amazing. And so much more that we can talk about. But I thank you so much for gracing this space, JuJu. I've always had the utmost respect for you and have been just admire your work and I've never forgotten like our partnerships and our time together. And so it just, whenever I see your name, it just brings me joy. JuJu, we're like JuJu.
Oh.
You know, you're like known in this space, right?
Yeah.
It's like JuJu, that's
The
JuJu.
JuJu. Yeah. That
Yes.
makes me really happy. Just, I mean, the thing that makes me the most happy is knowing that the work I do impacts people in a positive way. Because I've met my students from years ago who say, you know, oh, I'm still making that Swiss chard like you taught me, or I'm making those black bean patties that you did at Rooting DC. One class I did was at the Developing Family Center and was teaching people how to shop. We took them into the grocery store and showed them how to shop, compare unit prices. That's a piece a lot of people don't know. And so a year later, I was there and I met one of my students, and she grabbed me by my arm and dragged me over to her cart and said, Miss JuJu, I remember everything you said. Come look at my cart. And so that made me so happy that last year she'd been doing that for her family, like improving their health just by making different choices in the grocery store.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it means the world to me.
Oh my goodness. Y'all see that impact? The little things are big things. They are. JuJu, before we round out, our finale question that I ask every single guest on this show. What is one edible act that anybody can do, take, conquer, whatever that is, in this space? In regards to culinary education, teaching yourself how to cook, like what's just one edible act that someone can take right now after listening to you and all your good wisdom on this show?
Oh, sweet. I really believe in connection and kindness. I mean, I have a sign on my door that says proceed with kindness. And, you know, sharing a meal and sharing space with someone, I think is such a powerful thing. And even if it's just like, here's half a sandwich, but sit with me and let's talk. So like my thing would be like, invite someone to have a cup of coffee and like really look at them. You know, don't look at your phone when you're talking to them. Like just spend time with somebody and make a connection over anything. I mean, and food doesn't have to be amazing to have love imbued in it. I mean, I mentioned in the cookbook, at post-partum, one of my girlfriends brought me, it was black beans and rice. But the way it was presented, I knew she had taken care to put it in there with love. So just, you know, share something with somebody with love. Yeah.
I love that. Y'all, JuJu gifted me beeswax candles, and they smell like love.
That's cool.
And I know they are love.
Yeah,
and
they're
I thank
from our
you for
hives.
that. JuJu, if people want to connect with you, if they want to purchase your book, if they want to keep up with the third edition, all the great things, how can they reach out? How can they stay connected?
Yeah, so my website is www.nanajujurocksfood.com. You'll find some recipes on there. You'll find my story about how I got into culinary education, just little blog posts that I put. I'm going to put a link on there to my travel blog because people will want to follow me. And when I find new foods to eat and cook, I'll put those on there too. But if you're interested in emailing me, my email is Harris, Juliet D, Juliet, like tiger, D like dinosaur, @gmail.com.
Awesome. And you can always connect with me on Instagram if you want to connect with JuJu. I will make the connection.
Yeah. Instagram, I'm Nana JuJu's Gardens.
You heard it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. JuJu, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
You are
It's been
such a
great.
lovely soul. I appreciate you
Thank
so
you
much.
for having me.
Yes. And so you all, you can find this episode on episode on iTunes, Spotify, and full service radio. So until then, peace, y'all.
Peace. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. You can catch today's episode on iTunes, Spotify, and Simplecast. And be sure to follow us at Food Talks in Color, that's just the letter N, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And did you know we are on Patreon? This is a way for you to take action and support our mission of amplifying BIPOC voices on the Edible Activist podcast. Visit patreon.com/Food Talks in Color to learn more. Peace and blessings. And remember, in the great words of Baba Tariq Adunu, there is no culture without agriculture.